Alright guys, this is Word Lesson 5, Managing Text Flow. I am going to just follow the step-by-step exercises that you're not able to do because of virtual learning and you're using Office 365. So really what you need to do is to pay attention to the steps that I'm using. And we'll see what we can apply to Office 365. But right now, just pay attention to this video again for Word Lesson 5, Managing Text Flow. So the first thing the instructions tell me to do is to open Proposal, and as you can see in your title bar, I have Proposal open, and it's going to tell me to delete the extra blank lines above USA Health Resources. So if I turn on the Show Hide button, I can see that these are all extra blank lines, and I can delete those. And then on the Layout tab, it tells me go to the Layout tab in the Page Setup group. I'm going to display the Margins menu. So I'm going to Layout. There's the Margins menu. It wants me to choose Narrow, where the top, bottom, left, and right margins are set to 0.5. And you see that there. And so notice what my document looks like right now. And once I click on Narrow, you see what it looks like. And it wants me to go back to the Margins menu and then click Custom Margins. And now it wants me to change the margins to all of the margins, bottom, left, and right, to 1, and the top margin to 2. So top margin is going to be 2. I'm just going to type it in because it's a little bit quicker. Not like that. So top, and then the other ones should all be 1, then click OK. Now it wants me to change the orientation. So it's still under the Layout menu. Okay, when you're working with setting up a page, remember that's going to be Layout menu. And it tells me to change the orientation to landscape. So we have two choices here, portrait and landscape. So I'm changing it to landscape, see what it looks like again. Hold on for just 1 minute. Okay, never mind. So we're changing it to landscape. We click the File tab and then click Print to preview the document in Backstage View. So File. Okay, so there's our print. And you can see what it looks like if you were to print it out. Alright, so now it tells me to click the Return to Document, which is our arrow here. And it tells us to make sure it's still on the Layout group. We're going to go back to the orientation and change it back to portrait. And then we're going to change the paper size this time. And they want us to change the paper size to legal. So you see the letter sizes, which is the default, is 8.5 by 11. They want us to change this to legal, which is 8.5 by 14. It's just going to make the page longer. So let's see what it looks like now. Once I go to File, Print, see it's a little bit longer. I'm going to return to Document. And it wants me to delete all the lines before proposal description. So there's proposal description. I'm going to delete all of the blank lines. Probably should have left that one, so let me leave one here for that space. So it says to delete all of the blank lines above proposal description, then go to the Insert tab in the Pages group, click the Page Break button so that the proposal description paragraph is forced to the next page. I also could have just hit Control Enter, but I'm going to go to the Insert tab, and here's Page Break. Okay, so I guess I should have deleted that line. And so if I go back to Layout, so this is still a 2-inch margin, so that's why it's still on there. You also could have done your page break here, or again hit Control Enter. So that's 3 different ways you could do the page break. So it also, and now it wants me to, in Proposal, move to page 1 and position the insertion point after Relocation Proposal. Page 1. So here's Relocation Proposal, and you see my insertion point is now after. And then it wants us to go to on the Layout tab in the Page Setup group, click the Breaks section. So here's the breaks. And under Section Breaks, it wants us to hit Continuous. So to add a continuous section break. And you'll see that there. Okay. Position the insertion point before P and prepare for. So there's prepare for. And then it wants us to go to the Breaks button again. And this time it wants us to select next page so that a next page section break is inserted. So I'm going down to next page, so it takes it to the next page. And then it says position the insertion point before the O in option 1 heading. Okay, so there's the option 1 heading. Under the layout tab, we're going to click the breaks button again. This time they want us to select next page again. The next page break brings a new section on the following page. Place the insertion point on page 1 and then select the 3 line headings to include the blank line below. So I'm going back to page 1. I'm going to page up to page 1. Or I could, and it says select this plus the space, the blank line after it. So I got to make sure that I have this paragraph symbol selected. And we're going to click the dialog box launcher, paragraph dialog box launcher, to display the page. So we're going to page setup dialog box launcher. And on the margins tab, we're going to change the top margin from 2 to 1. In the lower left corner of the dialog box, notice the apply to section displays as selected sections. Okay. Now it wants us to click the layout tab in this dialog box and set the vertical alignment to center. And then click OK. So you notice now that it is centered in the center of the page vertically, which is up and down. So it is centered vertically. Now it wants us to click the File tab and click Print so we can preview it. And so that's what it looks like. The first page is centered vertically, and then the remaining pages, because I said this section only, are not centered vertically. So you need to pay attention to that. And they also have a 2-inch top margin. So that's what all of those pages look like. So now I'm going to go back to page 1 here. And I'm going to click to return to the document. It says position the insertion point anywhere on page 3. So that's 1, 2, 3. My recording device is in my way, so I can't see. I think maybe it's page 3 or 5. So it says position the insertion point anywhere on page 3, and in the page setup group, click the dialog box launcher. So page setup, this is the group, this is your launcher. So I'm going to click that again. And in the margins tab, change the top margin from 2 to 1. So going back to the margins tab, change it to 1. And then click OK. The margins for pages 3 and 4 are going to be set to 1 because I said apply to this section forward. So now it is set to a 1-inch top margin. Remove each of the section breaks that you have applied. So I'm just going to go there, and I know it's a section break because I have my show hide on, so that's a section break. I'm removing that one, and I have another section break somewhere. I'm going to remove this one. Uh-oh. It says remove each of the section breaks that you have applied. And I'm going to remove this section break, I guess. Make sure I got not the page break, but section breaks. Make sure I have all of those. Alright. On the first page, we're going to put the insertion point before prepare for. And then we're going to go to the page setup group again and click the breaks button. And this time we want to do even page. So it's going to insert a section break and start the new section on the next even number page. So the status bar reads page 2 of 4. Position the insertion point before O in the option 1 heading. So here. And then go back to the breaks page and select odd page. Now it's reading 506. And it wants us to say the document is draft proposal. And I'm going to put this in another folder. I think I'll just put it on the desktop for now, so I can delete it later. So I'll save it on the desktop. So that is how we work with section breaks. So that mainly is about section breaks. And now we're going to open up a check-in document, which I already have open. So there's the check-in document. Here's what it looks like. And it says scroll to the top of page 2. It's the notice the widow, which is experience. That's at the top of the page. So on page 1 of the document, we're going to place the insertion point anywhere in the paragraph under preferred check-in. So free check-in, value check-in. So here's preferred check-in. And then we're going to go to the home tab and click paragraph dialog box launcher. So this is your paragraph group. This is your dialog box launcher. And it says click the line and breaks tab. So here's that. And in the pagination section, it tells us to choose widow off orphan control. And then click OK. And so you notice that now some of the other paragraph went to the other page. Okay. So that it won't be a widow at the bottom. So that's how you do turn on and off widow control. Next thing it asks us to do is change the left and right margins to 1 inch. So I'm going to go back to layout and go to margins, custom margin, and left and right should be 1 inch. So, and then click OK. Alright, so now it's asking us to change on the layout tab. We're going to display the columns menu. So I'm going to page 1, placing my cursor anywhere in the free check-in on page 1. Layout tab and columns menu is here, and they want us to choose 2. So now you see 2 columns here. Now it tells me to position my insertion point or the cursor in front of free check-in and go to the columns menu again, and I'm going to select more columns. And then the number of columns box, type 3. Number of columns, change that to 3. So you see it changes the width. Select the line between. So the line between is there. And then click OK. So you have your line between, and I have 3 columns. And then we want to change the orientation to landscape. And that looks a lot better. So a brochure, this is sort of like a brochure. It looks better in landscape form. We're going to change the paper size to legal. So size, legal. It looks even better. And we're going to click margins and change our top and bottom margins to 0.5. So I'm going to go to margins and go to custom margins. Top 0.5 and bottom 0.5. And then click OK. And everything should now fit on one page. And it does. So that's good. Now we're going to place the insertion point in front of V and value check-in. So there's the value check-in. There's my insertion point. And we're going to go to the breaks menu and select column. So you see now that value check-in has moved to the next column. And then we're going to place the insertion point in front of the P in preferred check-in. And then do another column break. So I'll go to the breaks menu and select column. And then we're going to place it in front of the S in senior. preferred check-in, and we're going to do another column break. And so now we have 2 pages. Select the 2 headings beginning with the first bank and personal checking choices, which is here. And it says click the drop down arrow in columns and select 1. So now that is looks better. And then they want us to hit the center button. So we're going to go to the home tab and hit center. And I am going to press enter at the choices to give me some spaces between that. And we're going to save this as check-in choices final. And again, I'm going to put it on the desktop. Alright, so now we got to follow these directions carefully. So I hope I get it right the first time. It says create a text box layout with linked text boxes. That's what we're getting ready to do. So it tells me to go to the layout document on the view tab. And then choose grid lines. Select the grid lines checkbox so the grid lines are visible. On the insert tab, click text box, insert tab, insert tab. I wonder if I'm supposed to be doing it up here. Nope. No. It says file open. So let me go back. Oh no, that was right. Let me actually close this one out. And I'm going to open the layout document. Alright, so I'm going to go to view and do my check mark for the grid lines. Oh, it is on. Okay. So now it tells me to insert a text box. So I'm going to go to insert text box, and it wants me to draw the text box. And it says to the right of the existing text box, we're going to draw a text box that is approximately 3 inches wide and 4 inches high. So if I'm here, I'm going to go from 4 to 7. That'll be about 3 inches, right? And then I'm going to go down to 4, and I can't really tell. Go down to 4. Position it so that its right edges align with the right edge of the grid. So I'm going to move it here. Clicking the text box on the left to select it. Drag the text box bottom up to about 4 inches. Now, so it should be about even with this one, I reckon. Alright, so now you see some of our text because we've decreased the size of the text box. Some text is hidden because there's not enough room to display all of the text. So we're going to go to the drawing tools, format tab. Oh, wait a minute. And select create link here. Did it work? So you see it now looks like a little cup or something. Cup of coffee, which is what I need right now. And then if it appears as a picture pouring liquid now, right? So we're going to click in the new text box, and the text flows from the left text box to the right. All right, so I must not have been at 4 inches. All right, and so now that's how you create a text box with linked text boxes. And it tells me to save this as box layout. That is the end of your exercises for managing text flow for lesson 5.